or to who presents themselves in 2028 and who meets that moment. And that's the question for the American people.
Is it fair to say after the 2026 midterms, you're going to give it serious thought?
Yeah, I'd be lying otherwise. I'd just be lying, and I can't do that.
When are they going to see a woman in charge in the White House?
In their lifetime, for sure.
Could it be you?
Possibly.
Have you made a decision yet?
No, I have not.
That was former Vice President Kamala Harris with that answer to the BBC when asked whether her young nieces would see a female president in their lifetimes. Before that, we heard Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom of California also leaving the door open for a possible 2028 White House run. And Mara, Governor Newsom, certainly his profile elevated with these fights and with President Trump, and some Democrats really applauding the way he stood up to him. Vice President Harris obviously fell to defeat last fall, but her book came out a few weeks ago, sold very well. You know, these are going to be two of, I think, a very crowded field of Democrats who are going to try to run in 2028. And there are lots of questions facing the party. Do they want something new? Do they want a familiar face? Old, young? Both of these from California. Is an early jockeying here.
Early jockeying, you know, we knew that the Newsom news was coming. I think actually President Trump probably instinctively understood this, which we don't really know why he's conducting immigration enforcement in some cities the way he is in other cities, you know, differently. But when they went going after LA first, going after Los Angeles, I think many of us thought that was in part with the understanding that Gavin Newsom was very interested in a presidential run. He sees him as a foe. But this is too early. There's also Jon Ossoff. There's Greg Bashir. There's, of course, J.B. Pritzker, who, by the way, has been in the news also a lot lately as you have troops on the ground in Chicago. So it's a little early for this kind of jockeying, but remember that whoever emerges as the first name, and in this case it's, I guess, Newsom and maybe Harris, they're going to get the most scrutiny. So, you know, that could draw Donald Trump to target you. I don't know. I think there are a lot of quiet Democrats who are happy to stay in the shadows for now. And keep their intentions to themselves. Smartly so.
I mean, you look. You look at all these people. You look at Rahm Emanuel as somebody who's thinking about it, but would never be the first one to go out there because, like you said, they want to stay in the shadows. I will say something very interesting is always happening in politics. There's the action, and then there's a reaction. And by Donald Trump starting the first 9-10 months of his presidency the way he has, he's actually, I know a lot of people are rightfully shocked by a lot of things that they're seeing, whether on TV or social media. But what he's also done is he's prepared people like Gavin Newsom. He's prepared people like J.D. Pritzker. He's prepared Democrats ahead of time. All right, how are we going to politically engage against a guy who knows no rules? And you see already with Gavin Newsom, you see it with J.D. Pritzker, Mara, you see all of these Democrats suddenly understanding how to beat Donald Trump, often at his own game. Let me give you a great example. So after the marches, the No Kings marches, Donald Trump as a king dropping poop all over protesters, right? In the past, that would have been the beginning, middle, end. And they would have owned the libs. The libs are going, oh, this is the worst thing ever. What did it do? It launched 1,000 memes against Donald Trump, where suddenly you're going, oh, wow. Maybe that wasn't worth it for Donald Trump to do that. Maybe Democrats are going to finally give as much as they get. And it is certainly something that you saw where not just Democrats, but even look at Ron DeSantis. They stood flat-footed against the attacks, and Donald Trump's team just brutalized them politically. That's just not happening now, and it's not happening now in part because of what we've seen the first 9 or 10 months. Democrats are already getting hardened and understanding, like Gavin Newsom, J.D. Pritzker, others, about what a campaign against Republicans are going to look like going forward.
I think that's right. Listen, you know, all year long, Democratic voters, and you see this in the polls, they are very frustrated with leadership of the party in Washington. And I think that though they have many other skills and talents, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer have really struggled to kind of match the tenor of Donald Trump for the Democratic Party. And so what this has created is a power vacuum within the Democratic Party where you have governors and others who are able to kind of fill that political space that average voters, many of the millions of people who were out in the street last weekend at the No Kings rally, that they're looking for someone to stand up to Donald Trump, someone to stand up to the Republicans. And of course, you also have just a reality in which, the pro-democracy movement is playing out in individual states and cities. You're also going to see Democratic and just gubernatorial leadership around public health, things like vaccines. As the White House kind of withdraws the federal government from Americans, you're going to see governors stepping up, and that creates a political opportunity as well.
And there are lots of different ways to step up, including all caps parody tweets concluding with "Thank you for your attention to this matter."